Welcome back to Beat the Count. We are live here from Sweet Science Boxing Gym in Hawthorne, California. We have a weekend full of fights to dissect, including promotions from Golden Boy, Top Rank, Matchroom Boxing, and here to help me break all that down is my partner in crime, my co-host, lead writer for Supreme Boxing, Anthony Stacks Saldana.
Another week. Glad to be back, man.
A big week.
We
We have fights going on from Thursday all the way through Saturday, Sunday, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah, man. Some good fights out there, man. So, Thompson events, Golden Boy events.
Thompson, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good cards this weekend.
And, of course, our guest today, our esteemed guest, I should say, to my left, former world titleist, welterweight world titleist, Chris Van Heerden has joined us.
Thank you for having me, guys. Very excited to be here.
We're very happy to have you. Thanks so much for coming down.
Thank you.
You are fresh off of a unanimous decision victory at the inaugural Top Rank event at the Bank of California Stadium, which is where LAFC, the football club, now plays. What was that event like for you, and what did you think of participating in that venue?
You know, first of all, being with Top Rank, to me, Top Rank's the best promotion in the world. They are so good at what they do, so professional, so that was amazing. And then for the first time to be at the Bank of California, what an amazing event, what an amazing venue. I mean, it was outdoors. It's just beautiful.
You did, of course, sustain a few cuts as a result of the headbutts, but they look to be healing well. And otherwise, it was a tremendous performance. How did you feel coming out of that performance?
Besides for the headbutts, you know, we barely took any damage, which was a good thing. But the bad thing is we tried avoiding the headbutts because obviously I did my homework, studied the fighter, and we knew that he's leading with the head. I should have done a better job avoiding that headbutts, but it is what it is. We got to stick to the game plan, which was use my feet, what I'm good at, and I was very happy with the performance. We looked at the fight afterwards, so much room for improvement, but I did a lot of things good. Keep in mind, I got headbutted twice, 2 bad cuts, and I had to stay focused, which we did. It was a good one for me. I'm very happy with the performance, and I'm just excited because this now puts us in a platform, in a position. The next one is big.
So that you mentioned that, I'll go there since you brought it up. So Top Rank has one of the premier welterweight champions in the world, and unfortunately, due to the politics of boxing, sometimes the perception to boxing fans is fights with other promotions or other champions may be difficult to make, but you are with Top Rank, as is, of course, I'm referring to Terrence Crawford. Is that a fight that you hope to get in the near future? Is that something that you can see?
Absolutely. You know what? I'm with Top Rank. Terrence Crawford is with Top Rank. I'm in the sport to fight the best. You know, I want another shot at the world title. My only loss came to Errol Spence. That's the plan. That's the route. WBO and IBF. That's the route we're going. And obviously, I want a shot at Terrence Crawford. I've never shied away from any fighters. I fight. You know, we work our way up to get a shot at the world title, and that means Terrence Crawford. That is the way we're going. And if I get a phone call tomorrow, I'll take it because that's the way I want to go.
It's interesting that you say you never shied away from any fighters. A couple things I want to point out. I heard you say that you've been fighting since you were 6 years old.
Yeah,
right?
Started
Training.
boxing since I was, my first show bout was when I was 6.
Oh, okay, so 6 years old. And if you examine Chris Van Heerden's record on BoxRec, it was not a slow climb. You started very early, just in your first 3 or 4 fights, fighting men with winning records and some who even have exceptional records. Whereas a lot of times you see people who are prospects today, and they're carried along a little bit. So they may fight people who have losing records to see a lot of different styles. You kind of jumped right in there as a pro. Do you feel like your ability to do that stems from the fact that you've been boxing since you were 6 years old? Or?
No, you know what? I take pride in that. You know, thanks for bringing that up because I've always felt like I was cutting on the bad side of the end of the rope because I was always the guy that was in those type of fights that was risky, big risk for me, but we would prevail and we would conquer, and that's where I get my confidence from. So today I'm very thankful for those fights because people can look at my record and say, okay, well, he wasn't nurtured into it. He kind of had a tough road up to it, and I take a lot of pride in that, and that's where my confidence comes from. So I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can do. I know what I'm up against. So that gives me all the motivation. So the amateur background, I had 97 amateur fights, 94 wins, which is obviously amazing as a platform to start as a pro fighter. But I just had it on the tough side, and I'm grateful for that.
So you now fight and reside in the greater Los Angeles area, so you're in Southern California. We have mentioned on this show a number of times and prided ourselves sort of on the level of competition that you can actually receive here in Los Angeles, as well as the number of professional boxing events that we hold. It's actually the greatest in the nation. I'm not familiar with the professional boxing scene, for instance, in South Africa, where you're from. Is it something that is a prominent and popular sport in South Africa, or is it more like it is here, perhaps not so popular, but there's action going on?
Okay, yeah. Well, if you look at the history of boxing in South Africa, we've got some amazing fighters. If you go back in history, we had Brian Mitchell, we had Jerry Kutsia, we had the White Buffalo Botha, Corey Sanders, Dingaan Tubela, Baby J. I can go on and on with the list. When you talk about talent, we've got some of the best fighters in the world. Okay, the sport used to be massive. You used to get 40,000 people back in the 80s. You used to get 40,000 people in the stadium for a local fight because boxing was so big. But over time, the sport was slowly dying, and then my reason for coming to California, to America, was always a dream and a vision that I had since I was 18 years old. But because of pride and ego. When I say pride and ego, I say you got an amazing fighters in South Africa, but the one gym doesn't want to work with another gym, or the one promoter doesn't want to work with another promoter. So you're cutting the fighters a bad end of the road because the competition, for example, if you want to prepare for fighting, get good sparring, you got a good fighter in one gym, you got a good fighter in another gym. You try to get these two guys together, but there's so much ego between the trainers that they don't want to work together. So it's very difficult for fighters to get better and get to another level because of the ego and pride. And that's what I love about California. That's what I love about America is you can walk into any gym, most gyms, and you can say, okay, 147 pounders, lift up your hands. And you got 10 people lifting up their hands, and they're real fighters.
Yeah.
So you got sparring. You can get better and better every time. There's no shortage to it. And that's the thing in South Africa. There's a shortage. Even though we got talented fighters, we all know iron sharpens iron. And that's the problem back home.
So now that you're here and you're able to find great sparring, you compete in a division that maybe for the last 15 years has been one of the most popular divisions in all of boxing. So it has great opportunity, but it's also has a lot of names. It has a lot of people who are considered sort of at the prime of their career right now. Do you revel in that level of competition, or do you feel like it's perhaps just an obstacle or a blocker that you need to overcome to achieve your goals?
You know what? I'm fortunate enough to say that I've been fortunate enough to spar with some of the best 147 pounders in the world. I've sparred the likes of Sugar Shea Mosley for a long time. I sparred Victor Ortiz. I sparred obviously Ray Beltran as a 140 pound, 135 pounder, 140 pounder. I sparred Ray Beltran. I was Canelo Alvarez's sparring partner when he fought Lara for 7 weeks. I was Miguel Cotto's main sparring partner when he fought Sergio Martinez. So I've picked up that experience. Best thing I've done because it gave me confidence. I saw that, I can go with these guys. So I'm right there. I believe in myself. I believe in my abilities. And not just that. When you see me in the gym, when you see me do my thing, I don't need to say anything. The people in the gym, the trainers, they all know what I can do. And I believe that I belong in the 147 division, in the top 15 in the world. And I can, on a good night, I can go with any one of those 147 pounders, including a rematch with Errol Spence. I've fought Errol Spence. I lost to a great fighter. No excuses. I take my loss like a man. But little does the public know what I really went through. Now, as much as it is physical, we all don't know it's mental.
Yes.
You got to be mentally strong. You got to be mentally in the fight if you want to compete. I wasn't. I'm not going to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. But to answer your question, we're doing the right thing with Top Rank, and it's just going to be a matter of time where they say, give this boy a shot again.
You know, after the Spence fight, you fought a couple more fights, but then it looked like you took a long layoff there, all of 2017. You know, and then now you're back with Top Rank, and you're going. What happened there during that period?
Let me get into that, because you know, it's you got to be careful who you sign with when it comes to management teams and promoters. You got to be very careful who you sign with. Now, first of all, I was with a bad management team, and then we got past that. Then I signed with a guy called Peter Kahn. Peter Kahn is my manager, amazing human being, and we had a plan. I signed with Real Deal Promotions. Remember
Evander Holyfield?
Yeah,
correct.
They had a WBC tournament lined up.
Yeah.
Which the plan was, win the WBC tournament. The field was wide open for me to win this tournament. We knew it. And winning the WBC tournament would put us top 5 in the world by the WBC, which means a shot at a world title. So we had the plan laid out. But then all of a sudden, let's get back to 2017. I think I was number 9 by WBO, number 10 by IBF, and number 10 by WBA. 3 body sanctions. We were in line to fight Manny Pacquiao. I'll show you guys. I've got it all on my phone. I was in line to fight Manny Pacquiao.
Jeff Horn.
There was negotiations between Jeff Horn and me. That was the 2 possible prospects to fight Manny Pacquiao. It was a lot of back and forth negotiations that was going on. And that back and forth negotiations caused a delay on my career. And it was like, yeah, it's going to happen. No, it's not. Oh, yes, it's going to happen. So before I wipe my eyes out, 6 months went by. I haven't fought. We didn't want to take the risk because we had a plan. And that delayed my career, which was sad because we didn't get the fight. But yeah, it's I'm one of those guys that I say I'm very unfortunate, but it finally changed since I signed with Top Rank. I'm that one of those guys that you'll find in the gym. You can go to the gym on any given day and you'll find me there. I would do all the right things, like what a fighter should do. Stay dedicated, stay motivated, stay in shape, but I'm just not getting my break. And then finally, you know what? I got Top Rank. Everything I visioned as a kid, what my dad visioned for me, and I just, you got to stay true to the sport and you got to stay dedicated, and it did, and we got Top Rank, and it's changing.
So because of your cuts, you do have a 90-day suspension, right?
Yeah.
So do you
60
is
days.
it 60?
60
Do you
days.
see yourself fighting by the end of the year again?
Well, me and my manager, we are talking right now. It looks like December.
Okay.
Looks like December, but again, we are right there. I'm already. My name has been thrown into the hat for some big opportunities.
Yeah.
And I don't.
I can see you fighting the likes of even Amir Khan. I think a fight between you and Amir Khan would be a great fight.
On my social media, everyone is saying Amir Khan. Everyone is like, hey, you gotta just fight Amir Khan. But my name has been thrown into a hat. My next fight is gonna be a big one. So whether it's December or January, that's the time frame.
So can I ask you, you mentioned, for instance, your previous world rankings before the layoff. You mentioned the level of competition we spoke about that you've been in with, which is unusual for a professional boxer since you were, very young in your professional career to now. Do you harbor any bad feelings, for instance, about not being ranked higher than you are now? For instance, there are young guys, people like, the Ortizes of the world, that are being ranked above you, but they also seem like they're part of the machine. They're being promoted very heavily coming in, but they don't really have the experience, the record, or some of the things that you have. Does that bother you, or does it not, because you still are going to get these big opportunities?
No, it doesn't bother me. You know what? I don't have bad blood. I don't dwell on those stuff, because at one point in my career, I was highly ranked. At one point in my career, I was exactly where they are now. I was there. But my mistakes on the one end of signing with wrong people, I'm partially to blame. So I don't feel bad about it. I don't look at it and say I should be there. Now that I'm with Top Rank, also the inactivity, I can't really say, I do belong there. But now with Top Rank, I'm all of a sudden 2 fights into this year. I know that I'll get there, so no, not bad blood.
So coming from a foreign country, us here in the United States, we're really close to Mexico. We got a lot of Mexican fighters coming up. For you, I guess my question is, how hard was it to learn the actual politics of the sports when you first got here to the States? Like you said, you got into a bad promotional contract. You got with the right manager. Now he's led you there. How important is it for these young fighters coming from Eastern Europe, coming from Mexico, coming from other countries to the United States? How important is it for them to actually study and get the right people involved?
Very, very important. That's why the first thing I will say is, my message to young fighters out there is, be very careful before you put your pen on paper. Don't just sign because someone is promising you a dream. I made that mistake. And believe me, if you're good enough, if you're really super talented and you think you got what it takes, you have no reason to put your pen on paper. You know what? Take your time, take a step back and observe. Don't just sign with anybody, because that's the biggest mistake you can make. A manager and a promotional team can make or break you. You can have the most talent in this world. If you're with the wrong people, you're going nowhere. And then you can be an average fighter with the right team behind you, and you can strive for success. You know, my first loss in my career came when I went to Serbia and I fought Nikolo Stevanovic. Okay, I never lost that fight.
Controversial loss, yeah. I would
split the season in Serbia.
Yeah.
He was the champion, IBF Intercontinental Champion at that time. But before that, I never knew what it meant when people said, politics in boxing.
Hometown decision type thing.
Politics and stuff. I had no idea what that meant, because I was on a 14-0 winning streak. I was like, I'm winning, so I don't care. But then I went to Serbia and I beat Nikolo Stevanovic, and I lost that fight because of home decision politics. And that's the first time I realized what they meant with politics in boxing. And I was like, now I get it. And best learning curve of my life.
Yeah.
You've obviously been through a tremendous amount of adversity in your professional career and personal life. And one of the things that I saw on your Instagram was this very inspiring message, and the gist of the message was keep showing up. You mentioned you're always in the gym, and one of the things that you said in this message is keep showing up. Can you explain what you mean by keep showing up?
You know what? Talk about adversity. I had my fair share, and I'm so grateful for all the adversity and all the tough times, because that built character, that made me who I am today. The adversity, the tough times, the struggle. And when I say keep showing up, is I'm a former world champion. If you saw my life back home before I came to America, man, I had cars, I had a huge apartment, I had sponsors, I had money. I could walk in the street and people would stop me. I lived the life. I had, and don't take this wrong way, but I had fame, I had women, I had whatever I wanted. I woke up one morning, and I thought, I walked out on my balcony back home in South Africa, and I said, what do I have to stress about? What do I have to worry about today? I couldn't come up with anything. That's how comfortable I was back home. And I chose to leave because of a dream and a vision. I'm all about it. I live because of vision. If you can see it in your mind, you can achieve it. I live by it. I believe it. And I always wanted to be here. So even though I was back home, I was very sad because I was not living up to what I thought what I saw in my vision. And came out to America, and I had all these bad shares and bad side of the road, and not getting what I feel I deserve. All the reasons in the world to just give up, because I'm in the gym every day, nothing's going my way. I'm doing all the right things, still nothing is going my way. I'm knocking on doors, no one is opening. So I had all the reasons to just give up, but I wouldn't, because keep showing up. If you keep showing up, that's most of the battle win. So if you just keep showing up, keep knocking, eventually something has got to happen. Eventually you're going to be the right time, the right day, the right place, the right person is going to meet you, and things will fall into place. If you keep showing up, no matter what, something has got to change.
So you're the son of a fighter, correct? Your father was a boxer as well?
My father was a professional fighter back in the 80s.
Back in the 80s?
Heavyweight, correct?
Heavyweight.
And how much did he mold you into becoming a boxer? And was he there when you started as an amateur? Was he the one training you?
Everything I am today. Everything, the person I am today. If you look at me and you see who I am as a character, you see me as a fighter, everything is thanks to my dad. I am who I am. I am who I am today because of that man. The greatest man I've ever known, or had the pleasure to know. It was my dad. He was there from day one. You know, I'm one of 7 boys. I'm the smallest. For some reason, my dad always picked me out of the boys. We all were fighting. We all were in some sort of fighting. But I was the kid that my dad, if the rest of the boys were like, I don't feel like it, and I would try that, like, Dad, I don't feel like it, my dad would say, I don't care how you feel. Put your shoes on. Let's go. And I didn't want to be a fighter. I didn't. I was afraid. I was a ladies' man. That's what I was. I just wasn't a fighter. But my dad saw something in me, and my dad got behind me, and my dad supported me 110%. And you know, the fact that my dad believed in me, my dad's my role model. My dad's my idol. I looked at my dad and I was like, wow, I want to be like that man.
Well,
and he believed in me, and that changed everything for me.
Listening to you speak about your father, as many people who follow boxing know, 3 days after Christmas, your father was murdered in South Africa. Were you here in the United States when you got that call?
Yeah, I woke up to that call. You know, I woke up freshly. My phone rang. I woke up and I woke up to that call, to that phone call.
But yet you stayed in training. You fought that March, right? Was it 90 days after the death of your father? About 90 days after the death of your father?
Yeah.
Your father, that you went back into the ring. How important do you think it is for you to carry on his legacy as a fighter, you know?
You know what? My biggest fear in life was losing my dad. That was my biggest fear. If you ask me what's your fear, well, it was like losing my dad, because the relationship me and my dad had, my dad was my best friend. He was my father, but he was my best friend. He was my mentor. You know, I could turn to him anytime, any day, any second, and he would be there for me. He was my role model. He was my idol. And I knew the most important thing is I knew what my dad wanted for me in my life, in my career. And all my dad wanted for me was to fight. My dad wanted to see me fight. My dad wanted me to go after my dreams. And a lot of people beforehand, when I took the fight in March, people were like, you're not ready. They were like, you should take a longer layoff, grief over your dad. And I said, I know what my dad would have wanted for me. If my dad was alive and I told him that I would take off, he would say, how dare you? So I knew what my dad would want for me. That's why I took the fight in March. But it is very important. My life has got a new purpose now.
Because I see your shirt, Faith Saved Me. How important was the religious part of it, of having, for God in your corner, and the religious part of it? Not to get into religion too much, but just, faith saved you.
Faith.
How important was that during that time?
It's the most important. My faith was the most important. My faith and believe that I deserve it. That something good's gonna come out of it. No matter what, my faith still to this day. I live by faith, and I do believe that I'm good enough. I do believe that I can make a change. I do believe that I, to some extent, have a voice to be there for my people of South Africa. And it's only because I have faith and I believe, truly believe that I can make a change. I do believe that I'm important enough to be a voice. And without faith, I am nothing. I'm all about faith, man. And that's my purpose, is to be a voice for the people of South Africa.
Let me ask you, on the subject of your father, something that I came across was a very emotional and powerful short film called The Heat, which only recently, I believe, came out. And it is, I don't know if you want to call it a memoriam or what you would like to refer to it as, but it's a very well-made short piece in which you go into depth about your feelings and your emotions regarding your father and what he meant to you. Can I take a moment to ask, how did that come to be? And I took a note. It's Evan Dennis. I wanted to credit Evan Dennis because it's a very well-made film. How did you get involved with this idea? Where did it come from, and what was it like for you? My friend
Evan Dennis is a very dear friend of mine, close friend of mine, and he's a short film director, very successful with that. And he approached me. He approached me after my dad's death, and he said, I want to do something for you as a gift, and we want to honor this in memory of your dad. If you would give me the honor to do that. And I said, absolutely, because I've got feelings that I'm still dealing with, and I needed it to get out. I didn't have a way to. I didn't know exactly how to express my feelings, what I'm feeling, what I'm battling with. And Evan said, well, hopefully I'll to some extent I will be able to get that out there for you in a short form if you would do it. And I said, let's do it. I said, absolutely. And we've done the short form, and it really helped me a lot. It really, really helped me a lot, because he captured, if you look at the short form, it's only 5 minutes long, but if you really look at it, he's capturing it all. He's capturing all the emotion, everything I'm feeling. He captured it in a short form, and it really helped me a lot to make peace with a lot of things, and just to for my people of South Africa, for my family, it was big, because it's something we can look at about my dad. It gives you a little idea of what type of man my dad was.
It features a lot of very stunning visuals, one of which is obviously you going through training, including being fully submerged underwater. And we've seen this from other athletes. Is that something that routinely you do as part of training? And what is the gain or the benefit that you feel you're receiving from it?
Yeah, but pool workouts is part of my preparation for fights. The underwater, the holding the breath, the swimming. It's all part of my regime of getting ready for a fight. But again, if you saw it, it was underwater. There was moments of fire.
Yeah,
and he just captured that feeling of being trapped, that emotion of being trapped. He caught it up in for example, being underwater. It's like I had to explode.
Yeah.
And that's what Evan did so well in this movie, is he captured those feelings through visuals, like being underwater, being with the fire. It's all part of training as well.
So, in boxing, like you said, going into a fight, you always have to be prepared mentally. But the opposite. In your personal life and everything that you went through, all the emotions you had, the mental anguish that you had because of your father's death, how did boxing help you? Was that an outlet for you at all?
Absolutely. If you would look for me and you would ask, where can I find Chris, it would be the gym. Especially this last 8 months since losing my dad, you would find me in the gym. Why? I feel closest to my dad when I'm in the gym. When I'm in the gym and I do my thing, I feel my dad's presence, and that feeling is so good. It really, I get goosebumps sitting and talking to you guys. So it was easy for me to be in the gym, prepare for a fight, because I could feel my dad's presence, and I would long for that. Like, you know what? I don't feel my dad's presence anywhere else as when I'm in the gym, because that was our thing. If you knew my dad, 61 years old, he would phone me every single day. He would phone me, and the first thing he would do is he will tell me that he just finished hitting the bag 10 rounds. He was a boxer. He was obsessed with boxing, and then he'll ask me, "What are you gonna do today?" And then I'll be like, "Dad, I'm going to the gym."
Yeah,
that was our thing, and mentally for me, preparing now for the last 2 fights was very easy. Honestly, it was very easy. I'm not gonna lie, because of the fact that when I'm in the gym and doing my thing, I can feel my dad's presence or with me 100%.
You've mentioned a few times now that you have a platform, or a growing platform, to be a voice for South Africa. And this show is a show that is not political in nature. And I would say, in fact, in the past, I've even discouraged political discussion on the show. But I think that it would be unjust to not give you an opportunity, given that we're here, to sort of say your piece about some of the things or injustices that you want to be a voice for. And I think I can speak for Anthony to say that we're not educated enough on the subject to really make those types of statements. So is there something that you want to say in that respect?
You know what? I want to thank you. Honestly, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I've got a new purpose. I've got a new purpose, and that's to fight for the people of South Africa. And when I say for the people of South Africa, I talk about any race that wants to see peace, that wants love, that wants to see equality in that country. That's when I say my people. So I don't talk about a specific race. I talk about everyone that wants to see love. What's going on in South Africa at the moment now, I know the history of my country is not the best, and it's wrong. What happened back in the 80s and 70s, it was wrong, and in the 90s it changed. And Nelson Mandela went to jail for 27 years because he fought for peace. He fought for equality. He fought for freedom amongst all nations, in all races. And that's what we want. But unfortunately, it's taken a big turn in South Africa, where political parties are standing on a podium right now. You can go, I'm not making these things up. People should take a second, go on Google and Google these things and look into it, and you'll be shocked. Political parties, and I'll call it's called the EFF and the BLF. There's two political parties along with the ANC that would stand on a national podium, on live television, radio, with a microphone in their hand, and they're encouraging the killing of the white Afrikaner boer, the farmer. They encourage it. They say it. They sing songs about it. They say, go out there and kill him. Simple as that. They say, kill the white man. Kill him. Take his life. Take his land. Let him go back to Europe. Let him go back to where he's from. If he doesn't want to give you what you want, kill him. That's as simple as it. It's encouraged. My dad got shot in his back. He got shot in his back. But now I'm going to say something that I might get a lot of trouble about. But I forgive the man that killed my dad. I forgave him already. I've forgiven this guy. I have no grudge against him, because I want to call it brainwash. These guys think it's okay to do these things because there's national parties standing on a platform encouraging these things every single day. Kill the white man. And someone was comfortable pulling a gun and shoot my dad in the back because he was comfortable, because it's being encouraged. And I've forgiven this man. I just want to bring awareness, because my people that wants to see peace and love is living in fear. I've got over 40 siblings still left in South Africa. I don't know when I'm going to wake up to another phone call, and I'm afraid of that. And we need help. The world needs to know what's going on, because what about another man standing on a podium encouraging to kill another man? It's fair, and there's no consequences to be paid. No one is doing absolutely nothing. The ANC is corrupt. The country is corrupt. And the killing of the white man is being encouraged. And I just need to speak up about it, and I want people to know that this is what's going on. And it's wrong.
You mentioned that you have siblings in South Africa. You said you have 7 brothers, and I believe when I checked it said 13 total. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. I'm one of 13. We're 7 boys, 6 girls.
And the rest of your siblings still live in South Africa?
Every single one of my siblings. I've always been the odd one out. I've always been the kid that if everyone went left, I would go right. I was the one that left the country for dreams and visions, and because I for some reason it's a culture thing where my people are very small-minded. They're very comfortable in their comfort zone, so they stick to a routine. I was always the odd one out, and I left, so everyone is still there.
Okay, so thank you for taking time to, come and share that with us. I appreciate your opening up about your father, and of course about some of the social injustices and things that you're experiencing and speaking for. I think that, I don't know, Stax, do you have any follow-up questions before we change?
How much of a toll does that take on you, knowing what's going on in South Africa, and you being here, away from your family, away from your mom, away from your siblings, knowing what happened to your father. How much of a toll does that take on you daily? I mean, like you said, mentally preparing for a fight, getting ready for a fight, knowing now that you're top ranked, you're gonna have big fights eventually coming up. How much of a toll does that take on you, just knowing that you can expect, hopefully not, but you can expect that call,
Before I've dealt with this and I made peace with it, but for a period of time I felt guilty. I felt like a coward. I felt not being there with my people in South Africa, going through it all, not being there with my dad, I felt like a coward. I felt like I ran away from something, and I had to deal with this and talk about this, and I realized it's the opposite. I was the one that's trying to make the change. I'm the one fighting for the people to be heard, and it's still just the other day. I'm going to tell you something. Just about 3 days ago, usually my mother back home will text, but she'll never phone me. She'll barely phone me because I'm in America. It's a big time difference. And I remember I was in the movies, and my phone rang, and I saw it's my mother. And the first thing that went through my mind is, oh no, why is she phoning me? That was the first thing that popped in my mind. I was like, oh,
not again.
I was like, what is she about to tell me? Because that's what's constantly on my mind. It's constantly on my mind because of the stuff that's going on in South Africa. I'm like, I don't want to have another phone call like that, and I don't know when I'm going to have it. And if I don't do something about it, and I don't talk about it, and because I have a platform to do it, I'm a coward. So it's something to deal with, but also knowing how strong I am, and knowing that as long as I try to do my part when I have an opportunity to do it, that's the best thing I can do.
And I applaud you for doing that, for using this as a platform, for using anytime you get in front of a camera, it seems like you're always trying to use it as a platform. And I applaud you for that, because in today's mainstream media, you don't see it. You don't hear about it. You don't know what's going on in South Africa. You turn on MSNBC, Fox, CNN, you very rarely hear of anything with South Africa. So for people like us, and I'm sure many boxing fans, they don't know what social injustices are going on. So I applaud you for bringing that awareness, and hopefully, people from within Top Rank and other fighters can make people aware. Because like I said, we're all human. We're all one race. Absolutely, whether you're Mexican, whether you're black, whether you're Dominican, whether you're white. I mean, you look at in here right now, including our studio audience. We're one race. We're people.
Human race.
So I applaud you for taking time to talk about that, Chris.
Thank you guys thank you for just giving me this platform.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on. Over this weekend, man, we had a lot of fights going on. It started Thursday night at Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio. You had a Golden Boy card, and you had some really good fights. I'd say probably one of the best fights of the night was the Blair Cobb fight.
Oh, let me give that this one.
There you go, Blair Cobb. He is an undefeated fighter out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And
that was a firefight!
Oh, yes, it was a firefight. Sean's having a little bit too much fun here. He's got him a little new
the sound
toy.
effects are new, so now I'm just going to keep inserting Ric Flair woos throughout the rest of the podcast.
Yeah. So he's a fighter out of Las Vegas who I'd say 8 years ago fled with his family to Mexico. Okay, so a little bit of background on Blair Cobb. 8 years ago, his dad was working for some drug cartels and flew a plane that wrecked in the outskirts of Philadelphia. And when it wrecked, he ran from the plane wreck, and it had 525 pounds of cocaine on it. So he took his family and they went to Mexico, and that's where Blair Cobb started fighting, was in Mexico. Eventually worked his way up the ranks, moved back to Las Vegas, and had a fight this Thursday night against another undefeated fighter out of Indio. His name is not coming to me right now, but Villalobos. Yeah. It was a hell of a fight. Villalobos dropped Cobb in the 6th round. I thought Blair was done. and he came back. And
he just seemed angry more than anything.
Yeah, it seemed like
it
pissed him off.
He got angry.
It happens,
exactly.
man. Some fighters needs to get dropped, and it wakes up something.
You could see that's exactly how I would describe this, actually, because he was definitely hurt. It wasn't like it was a flash knockdown or anything like that, but immediately he got the recovery time at the end of the round, and when he came out for the next round, he just seemed possessed. He was on a mission. Like, he went straight out, and you could tell that he just wanted to get it back right away. Like, I just want to get it back. I want to get that knockdown back. And ultimately, it resulted in a stoppage in what was otherwise a very close and competitive fight. Blair Cobb.
Great fight.
Coach Marco Trejo of Sweet Science Gym, who's on the live chat, said he sparred Blair 5 years ago.
In Mexico?
How'd you do, Coach? How'd you do? Let me know.
Blair actually was in Guadalajara and had fought in the same camp as Canelo for a while. So when he was down there with Canelo. And you know what? Before we get into the next fight, I had a question for you, Chris. So you've talked about a little bit about some of your sparring partners and some of the best sparring partners in the world that you had, including Miguel Cotto, including Shane Mosley Jr. How hard was it for you when you got that call to go in, though, and spar one of the best MMA athletes in the world, and Conor McGregor, man? I mean, what type of style was that for you, man?
I forgot about that. We're going back there. You know what? That was, me and Conor McGregor, we had 2 sparring sessions. The first one was behind closed doors. The first one was very private. It's a thing between fighters.
Yeah.
We got to establish who's the alpha male. Conor coming to boxing, that's my game. I had to show him that I am the boxer, you are the MMA fighter. So I had to show him that I'm the male.
Yeah.
My white shirt was full of blood.
And I'm sure it wasn't yours.
No, it wasn't mine. And I'll say it out there. And I established. I needed that to show him that, hey, I'm the male here. I'm going to help you. And then we had a second sparring session, which was very chilled, very laid back, because I've established what was the alpha male like. Sparring Conor, I'll give him credit for this. He's got for an MMA fighter, he's an okay boxer. He's an okay boxer for an MMA fighter. His hands, it's not that bad. He's got good precision. A little bit of time, he pulls back. His timing is good. He did surprise me a little bit with that. But when it comes to his boxing IQ, it's bad.
Low.
It's very low. His footwork, his hands, just everything he does, trying to do as a boxer, it was easy. It was, and he's way bigger than me. Believe it or not, he's a big boy. He's a big boy, and but no, it was a walk in the park for me.
Did you feel like the narrative going in that I think the promotional entities and the media tried to create is that of size, right, and power, size and power. That's what Conor has on his side, and all he needs is kind of that one perfect left hand, that one punch. However, I would say in the very first round of that fight, he landed basically a perfect left uppercut, and Floyd walked right through it. It was as if he didn't feel it. Did you feel that size and power being enforced in any way?
Not at all. Not at all. Even in sparring, I would walk him. Whenever I wanted to walk him down, I would put him on his back foot and walk him down. He did land some flush punches. I wasn't even rattled at all. And I was like, he doesn't have... I couldn't find that power they were talking about. I was like...
You know what, though? I just in Conor's defense here, just because you're big and strong and a world-class athlete, you still have to have technique. And if you don't have, if you don't know how to punch, that power is not going to follow. If you don't know the hip movement, if you don't know how to throw a proper punch, you can be the strongest damn man in the world, but you ain't going to hurt anybody unless you have that punching technique. So
no, and I agree, and I don't want to take any away from what Conor accomplished as an athlete in MMA.
No, exactly. In MMA,
it's just that
exactly.
As far as boxing is concerned, like that, one of the things that you would constantly hear about that fight is he did well. And I think what people mean is he did well for a novice. Like, he did well for someone who's not a boxer. I think
Floyd carried him.
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
110%. Floyd carried him for 10 rounds.
And I think that if that had been a boxer, like, let's say we take out Conor McGregor and we put in Canelo Alvarez, nobody would say he did well, right? Like, people would look at that and go, oh, no, that was terrible. He got, like, knocked out in the 9th round. He barely did all, couldn't.
Yeah.
But as soon as you put a boxer into that position, it removes that thought process of like he did well. It's really only because Conor's coming from a place of MMA, a different background entirely, that we can look at it and go, oh wow, he survived for this period of time, because we don't expect a novice to do that. That's kind of thing. So I don't mean to belittle Conor McGregor.
No, exactly. No,
he would destroy me.
Yeah, look, I would call a spade a spade. If you had to put me in an octagon, I have no chance against Conor. I've got a puncher's chance. I'm a fighter. That's what he will embarrass me. He will humiliate me, and he will destroy me. Like you say, call a spade a spade.
There you go.
When it comes to the boxing, he did not deserve that fight.
Going back to the fights, going back to the Golden Boy fights Thursday night, in the main event, we had one of our previous guests, Luis Feliciano.
Yeah.
Undefeated, going up against an undefeated kid named Renato Gamez out of San Diego. And
two undefeated kids fighting each other.
Yeah, Golden Boy. Yeah, putting two of their top prospects together on a card to go up against each other, not just on the same card, but actually fighting each other. And Feliciano looked really good. He won on some of the judges' cards 9 out of the 10 rounds.
I would say it was probably a little bit closer than that, but I do want to say the first adjective that kind of came to my mind to describe that performance was classy. He was just super composed, a very composed individual. So I do want to take a moment to say shout out to Ben Lira, who has also been on this show, who's the trainer of Luis Feliciano, and to Luis Feliciano.
Jojo Diaz was there as well.
Jojo Diaz was doing commentary.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, good fight, good card there. Friday night, I was at Thompson. We had another former guest, Saul Sanchez.
Saul the Beast.
He was
Sanchez
defending
Friday
his
night.
WBO Latino bantamweight title, and he lost, man. He lost. I didn't see him losing that fight. The judges gave the kid from Puerto Rico, Edwin Rodriguez, a split decision.
Either way you see it, it was a very tough fight.
Very tough fight.
And he was getting hit. I think when he goes back and he watches that performance, he'll probably say, earlier you mentioned you went back, you watched your performance with the headbutts, and you felt like you could have done more to avoid it because you expected that it came on. I think that Saul Sanchez, when he goes back and watches this performance, he'll probably understand that he was getting hit too frequently. It was just getting hit too much. There's more that needs to be done in terms of head movement, and I don't think you can really blame the judges because the fight was so close and competitive.
Well, I'm not blaming the judges, but then this goes back to your argument that we've had in the past.
I'm not saying I think he lost, by the way.
Okay,
I'm just saying it was a tough fight.
But what I'm saying is this is going to go back to our argument that we've had in the past. Who wins? The person that lands more punches in the round, or the person that's landing the harder punches, the more aggressive fighter that's landing the harder shots in a round?
The only sensible answer is it depends. It's so contextual. Boxing is so contextual and subjective. It really is. And I think anybody who says anything otherwise is part of the problem. So if you say it's always this guy or it's always that guy, you're part of the issue, because what happens is there are times where it's not this guy and it's not that guy, but you judge it that way. So the only sensible answer is it depends. There are times where power shots will overrule someone's jabs, and there are times where someone can box around the ring and not do a lot of power but still win a round, even if he got connected on 1 or 2 times.
It depends on what the judges sitting next to the ring, what they like.
Yeah,
Some judges like a guy that's technical and landing more punches. Some guys are guys that looks for power punches.
Yeah.
It comes down to what does that judge like more.
Now, for Saul, I want you to, because I know Saul personally. Both of us know Saul Sanchez personally. Good kid, undefeated fighter, lost a split decision, first loss of his career. You kind of had that same thing happen with you when you went to Serbia and you fought, and you lost a split decision. You were undefeated. What does it take, man? How would you talk to somebody, or what would you say as far as getting back into that ring and leaving that loss behind you? What type of words would you have for a fighter that just came off his first loss?
You know what? First of all, I would say look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And be very honest with yourself and ask yourself how bad you want it. How bad you want it. The first loss of your career can be the best thing that ever happens to you, because it can wake up something. So I would ask him, how bad you want it. And if you really still do want this bad, it's just a loss. You're gonna meet a lot of people all of a sudden that's gonna have a lot of things to say to you, a lot of negative things to say to you. First thing you do is cut those people out of your mind. Forget about those people, because they're negative. They're gonna swamp you with negative ideas, negative talk. So cut those people out of your life, cut those people out of your mind. Ask yourself how bad you want it. Get back into the gym and fix your mistakes. Don't let one loss define you. We've seen so many fighters out there that came off. Wasn't Marquez? Marquez lost his first pro fight. Did Marquez?
Yeah.
Manuel Marquez. We can go on and on about fighters that suffered losses, but get back into the gym. And if you still want this as bad as if you wanted it before, cut these people out of your life and just get back to work. Fix your mistake.
Well, there you go.
The fix your mistake, and I think this is what I mean. If his attitude is he should look at that fight and go, hey, there's some things I can do defensively to not be getting connected so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what I think he needs to do.
And that's whether you win or whether you lose, because I've always said, your first 12 to 14 fights as a professional should be there as a measuring stick. Of course, I don't want to put a fighter in there with somebody who's going to lose to the first 12 to 14 fights. They're expected to win, but they're expected to use those fights as a measuring stick and as a tool to learn from them. So even if he were to come out a win, even if he would have won Friday night, you still got to look at that as a learning experience. If you would have pulled off the split decision, you still have to look at that fight as a learning experience. How do I learn from my mistakes? And you should take that whether you win or whether you lose,
Yeah.
Shout out real quick, Brian Boduckets says much love for this guy, Chris. So Chris, shout out to Brian.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much.
Saturday.
Before we get to Saturday, I am going to say one thing about Thompson. I've had a lot of praise for Thompson and the level of quality that they put into their promotion, because effectively outside of co-promoting, Danny Roman and Michael Dutchover and some of the people who are now on Showtime and on DAZN and things like that, they are a local promotion. Right?
Correct.
And I look and you watch their broadcast, and it's always done as if with extreme quality. They care about the content that they're producing. Somebody, you didn't get to see that. I watched it on Facebook. Okay. Somebody's got to be after the Facebook moderator on Thompson's thing. That poor Beto Duran was getting swamped with comments from one guy who is like over and over, just every 30 seconds, he'd have a new post about with extremely vulgar, like distasteful things. And the whole time I was sitting there for like an hour, like, why doesn't somebody just block this guy?
Well, you know what, Pierre?
What do we do?
Pierre usually runs it. Pierre,
not the Facebook Live. Like, Pierre's not sitting there monitoring Facebook.
Well, he usually takes care of social media, and I know he wasn't there Friday night. Pierre didn't make that trip Friday night.
I was going to say,
I
don't think Pierre's just sitting there on Facebook either.
Exactly.
I'm just saying somebody who's like a Facebook admin needs to be on top of that.
Somebody's going to have to look into that, and I can talk to the people at Thompson as well and just
extremely
let them know,
vulgar and distasteful. Chill out, guys.
Beto Duran and Rich Murata are two of the classiest people out there as far as reporters go and as far as boxing announcers go. Rich Murata's been around for years. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Beto did great. He didn't even acknowledge that it was going on, but I just think, like,
and you know what? That's the problem with these phones. Anybody can get on here, and I tell you that, man, they can just talk madness. They can just sit there and bash you.
That's
true.
I mean, trust me, I know. I get bashed all the time. Right? Just go read YouTube comments about.
Especially when we talk about Ryan Garcia in here.
To be fair, I've never said anything negative about. I say things that are critical in the same way that when I'm talking about Saul Sanchez right now, Saul's been a guest on the show. I'm an admirer of him the same way I admire Chris. If I'm critical of a certain performance and say, we should have avoided headbutts more, it's not the same as being negative. I'm not negative about anybody. I'm just being critical.
There you go. Saturday, man. What did you think of Kovalov's performance?
Oh,
did you watch that one?
Yeah, man. I saw the fight. That's the one I watched. I watched that fight because one of my friends fought on that undercard by Junior Makabu.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I grew up in a gym with Junior Makabu, and in South Africa, we trained under Nick Durant. Let me just before I go to the Kovalev fight, let me tell you something about Junior Makabu. That kid came into the gym. I remember he was an 0-0 fighter, and he was in the gym. And he was giving the likes of Daniel Brewer a tough time, Isaac Chilembe a tough time. This kid was 0-0, and he captured the attention of everyone. And this kid would just come into the gym an hour before everyone, and he would just work. And there was such a big praise on this kid. I mean, everyone was like, this kid's the guy. And then he's got his first pro fight. and he gets knocked out in 10 seconds. In his first pro fight, he gets knocked out in his 10 seconds. And everyone's like, oh, what a joke.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, he was just nervous. Look at his record. He came back and knocked everyone out since then till he fought Bellew. And then he dropped Bellew. So Junior Makabu, people need to give that kid praise for who he is and what he does. Junior Makabu is a beast. He's a beast and a dear friend of mine. So first of all, congratulations to him.
It was a super. That was a great fight.
Yeah, he stopped the guy in the last round, right?
Yeah,
He dropped him in the last round, which caused him to win because the one judge said 1-1-3, 1-1-3, 1-1-3, 1-1-5. So because of that, knocked him. But what a fight! But Junior is a beast. So congratulations to him. And then the Kovalev, I mean, how old is he? 36.
Yeah,
36.
36 years old.
He showed that he's got to get on that Canelo money right now. He's got to get that Canelo money because he showed like, hey, I'm still there, but top notch for his opponent, man. He got Kovalev hurt. I thought he got Kovalev hurt. He was in it, just not experienced enough. I enjoyed it.
I think his training and I think his leading up to the fight, I think he should have did some more cardio because with all those muscles, he got gassed. And to me, that looked more of a I quit because of an exhaustion.
Yes,
it was a jab. It wasn't a devastating knockout. He touched him and he went down. And you know what? It's like
I saw that.
I can't breathe. I'm tired. I'm done.
I'm with you, 100% with you.
A couple things real quick. Shout out, Mr. Boxing Guru joined. What's up, Guru? Guru can attest to the nonsense that was happening on the Thompson Boxing Facebook live stream. We got to make sure somebody's moderating that going forward. Terrible. Jeff Joyner said the co-feature was a great fight. It was a great fight. I think it's one of those fights where both fighters benefit from that fight. Mugabe referring to that. So my thoughts on Kovalev were this. Initially, in the early going, the two things that stood out to me were the discrepancy in size and hand speed.
The hand speed.
So the hand speed was very, very much favored. There's so much discrepancy there. And he's also built like an aircraft carrier, which, as you said, it can benefit you or it cannot benefit you in certain points. The thing I think is peculiar is when you hear all these things about their training regimen, and in particular, something that I had not heard of another fighter before was that he did not spar. He did not spar in preparation for the fight in any way. And then you look at how gassed he was to the point that you guys made that he's getting dropped by a jab and unable to continue at that point in time. And you go, I don't understand the benefit. And maybe
no, I'm with you. I gotta spar. I gotta spar, man. I gotta be there physically. I gotta push myself. I don't care how tough it is. I do 120 rounds of sparring preparing for a fight. At least 120 rounds of sparring. I also don't get it when a fighter says, who was like that? Sergio Martinez.
Yeah.
Sergio Martinez didn't like sparring a lot. He tried avoiding sparring as much as he could, but for him it worked.
I think
Sergio was a bike rider too, though.
Well, he is a world-class endurance athlete.
Miguel Cotto, when it comes to road work, Miguel Cotto does, I think, one or two sessions of road work. He does bike riding.
Yeah, and I understand that because particularly as he gets older and he's fighting in 36 and 37, there's just less resistance on the legs.
But I'm with you, man. Sparring, that's where you get your confidence from. It's in the sparring where you build the confidence and the belief that, hey, I'm ready. And I don't get that piece where fighters are looking for an easy way, like, I just want to spar when as little as bit. I just don't get that.
I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but even Maravilla, who, really didn't turn pro until he was in his 20s or take up boxing. He was a different kind of athlete. He had problems with his legs. I understand not wanting to put that kind of strain or pressure on your knees, particularly when so much of your game is really about sort of movement around the ring and things like that. I just don't get it from a young man who is in the condition that he is in.
Exactly.
Why you would not want the ring work, because I simply don't see a substitute for it.
Especially when he only had 12 amateur fights.
Oh,
yeah. The kid only had 12 amateur fights. There's no reason he shouldn't be in there getting some work in that ring.
Like Chris, to your point, like there are some things that you can do to substitute for cardiovascular exercise. There's things that you can do to substitute for other types of exercises, so things are low resistance, low impact, and better on your joints. I don't know what the substitute is for actually getting in the ring and fighting.
You know what sparring is? That's it, man. You gotta do that work. That I truly believe that sparring is such a big It's that's where you build. That's where you get your confidence from, is in the sparring.
And anyways, it showed. I think when you look at that fight and you see the way that it ended, you're like, yeah, I understand. And I completely agree with your thought, which is that Kovalev's career plan at this point looks to be Canelo, retire. That's kind of what they get
money.
the Canelo fight and then get out.
And
probably in December.
Well, they have the T-Mobile Arena locked in for November 9th. Okay.
Or November, November.
No, the November 9th is when they have it locked in. So that right now is you're looking at 12 weeks from today. So I don't know. He wasn't cut because of his age. I don't know how much time he's going to need to recuperate. They may have to push it back a few weeks if they get that fight. I don't know what Golden Boy's plan is with main events. Hopefully they can make that happen. I do see it happening.
Definitely.
And the thing about it is, how will Canelo react to that power? He's going to have to use his speed. I'm sure his speed's going to carry up to 175. I'm sure there's going to be some rehydration clauses in effect with that as well. But I want to see what Canelo's reaction is when he gets hit by somebody at that size. To move up from 160 to 175, it's a big jump.
It's no disrespect to Sergey Kovalev and all that he's accomplished in the sport. I cannot see him beating a Canelo Alvarez at this age, regardless of the size discrepancy. I think Canelo is, and sure, you could say, well, he's proven to have a chin at 160, and he's never really been tested at 168, and there is a huge size differential.
Does it turn into a Pac-Man?
I just think there are so many advantages.
A Pac-Man De La Hoya type
Canelo
fight?
has. I'm sorry.
Does it turn into a Pac-Man De La Hoya type fight, Pac-Man Cotto type fight, where you get the smaller man moving up and speed and just ring IQ takes Kovalev to school?
Yeah, well, I think that the other thing to consider here is that there's kind of an MO now. There's a game plan, right, for how to handle Sergey Kovalev, and that he tires as fights kind of go on. I can't see by November him having a tremendous breakthrough in conditioning and performance. And so what that means is that he needs to avoid the power, yes, but it's kind of something where he can ease into his game plan against Kovalev. You can be cautious early and then start to apply pressure, to the body and other things as the fight goes on. And he just, I don't know. Personally, I want that fight for Kovalev because I think it's important for his career to take that fight. I also think that it's I think it's a dangerous fight for Sergey
and I think
Kovalev.
It makes Canelo.
Look at the size discrepancy. They're not really that much different in size. There's a reason why you would fight Sergey Kovalev instead of fighting, let's say, Caleb Smith. So you have a 168-pound regular belt. You could go fight Caleb Smith. It would be a huge fight. Everybody would make a lot of money. But no, you want to jump and fight Sergey Kovalev, and that is almost undoubtedly because they feel like it's an easier fight.
Styles make fights. Styles make fights, man.
And I mean, I'm with you. I don't see Kovalev beating Canelo. And again, the last few fights of Canelo, his head movement, his ability to, the way he moves, the way he makes people miss,
improving.
Oh man, it's like the Matrix for Canelo. I'm like, this kid is yes, Canelo's a beast. Yes, he's got power. Yes, he breaks people down. But let's not take away how his ability, his boxing ability.
His last two fights against Triple G and against Jacobs really proved how much of a defensive fighter Canelo is. And I'm a Triple G fan, and I can honestly say that Canelo beat him that second fight. I don't agree with the first fight, but the second fight, he made the adjustments that he needed to do to beat G.
Yes, yeah, that's it. I'm with Canelo. I don't see Kovalev beating him.
So we've got one more fight coming up. Well, there's actually one more this weekend.
Yeah.
So the PBC card.
PBC card. Wasn't too impressed with that. And I wasn't impressed with the championship match with the interim champion Brandon Figueroa. I just think, like I told you last night, I think they could have matched him better. When you're at that level and you're a top undefeated fighter, you should be taking the steps up and fighting at least somebody in the top 15. I don't know where this kid was ranked at.
I think
he went in with a pair of Adidas shoes, like regular running shoes, and I know.
Oh, his opponent, you mean?
His opponent. I know they
did
said
comment on that.
I know they had commented and said he didn't feel comfortable in boxing shoes, but maybe it's because he can't afford it or he's never really wore boxing shoes. I don't know, but the kid was just outclassed. His trunks barely fit him. By the third round, I think Figueroa had landed 70 punches to 9. So I mean that's not the way a championship fight should
his
look.
opponent only landed 18 punches, I think, in the entire fight. It was an egregious mismatch, I would say, but and the challenge is as leading into this fight, they say things because he's the interim world champion, like, oh, he's eyeballing Ray Vargas, he's eyeballing Danny Roman, he's eyeballing other people who are like really established figures at 122. And I would assert that this fight doesn't really help you make a case for that.
No.
Meaning he could do 10 more just like it probably in the same night. Like but I understand that. I agree. There needs to be a step up in the level of competition.
Yeah. So.
And then, of course, next week is Lomachenko.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. I think Loma outboxes him, but I think it's gonna be an interesting fight, especially with the fight happening across the pond. So
I see the first few rounds being really interesting because let's say Campbell he's got a good boxing IQ. Campbell, he's Olympian. The kid's got a good boxing IQ. So I see it early on the first few rounds being really interesting. And then I do see Lomachenko just getting all his timing down the line, figuring out Campbell, and then I see Lomachenko beating Campbell on points, but finally figuring him out and getting his distance and do whatever he wants to do. But it's going to be an interesting fight.
And that fight is being promoted by Top Rank. There was basically it was a give 'em take 'em. They gave DAZN the Hooker Ramirez fight so they could have the Lomachenko Campbell fight. So
I think it's a really interesting matchup because a lot of times you go into fights and you look at Lomachenko and his opponent, and there's not really a distinct advantage that you can call out. You can't look at it and go, oh, well, he has this advantage. Adam Carolla, for instance, who's a great fighter, but you can't look at it and say, oh, he's faster than Lomachenko, he has a better IQ, he's more powerful. There's not really any of that stuff. I don't feel that way about Luke Campbell. You look at Luke Campbell and you go, oh, okay, he has a very extensive background, a tremendous amateur pedigree, himself an Olympic gold medalist. He's taller, he's longer, he has a lot of advantages. And sure, those are things that, like you said, over time Lomachenko can neutralize, but it makes it a little bit more compelling than your average Lomachenko fight.
And he's fighting at home.
Yeah, and he's fighting at home. So it's a little bit more compelling than some of the fights we've seen with Lomachenko in the past because you can point to him and say, oh, there's very distinct advantages there. It's the same reason I like Usyk going to heavyweight because you look at it and you go, he has all these advantages over cruiserweights. Once you go to heavyweight, those guys are bigger, they're stronger than he is, and so not every single, if you're doing the checklist, he doesn't get all the checks. The other guys get some.
That makes for interesting talk.
Yeah.
And it, with Campbell, if he can use the game plan that Pedraza did, because he, to me, is a way better boxer than Pedraza. And I know that Lomachenko was coming off shoulder surgery when he fought.
He was one-armed,
when he fought Sniper Pedraza. But, I mean, if Campbell can stay on the outside and he can box and he has to make Loma come in and maybe fight a fight that he doesn't want to fight and just completely change the game plan, it can be an interesting fight.
Interesting fight, yeah.
Absolutely. So we got a lot to talk about next week.
Correct. And we should be having Adam Lopez, Blue Nose Lopez, in the studio with us next week. So, good fighter. Also a top-ranked fighter. Was supposed to fight on your card, and he had his appendix taken out. So he had appendicitis.
Adam did?
Yeah. Adam
I didn't know
Lopez.
that.
Yeah. So I guess a week before the fight, he was supposed to fight on the same card that Chris did, and had an appendectomy. So. Yeah,
also, just this week, didn't they finalize the Anthony Ruiz?
They did.
Number 2
they
in
did.
Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia.
That's tough.
What do you think about that fight, man?
Ruiz.
Think Ruiz takes him?
Ruiz has got his number. At Ruiz again.
That's
what I think.
Somebody made a really good point, which is Andy Ruiz didn't just score a fluke KO. He actually won most of the rounds.
Yeah.
He won most rounds that
he
they were
stood up off the
in.
canvas, but I mean, in the heavyweight division, it takes one punch to put someone down, really. So, but
Joshua had said, "Oh, he landed a lucky punch from God." Right? Here's the thing, man. If you look at those punches, he ducked under. He ducked under. Everything you do in the boxing ring is from muscle memory.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
punch you throw, every
Muscle
duck,
memory.
it's all muscle memory. That was never luck. He knew exactly. He had it planned out. He hit him, and it showed that Joshua didn't have the chin. You know,
It was the same punch twice in a row. That's my objection. He threw a left hook. He caught Joshua on the chin, ducked under, threw another left hook, and caught him on the temple. It's not lucky. He timed it both times.
There's no luck involved there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no luck involved there. I don't believe in luck. It's hard work, preparation, meets opportunity. I mean, like you said, it's muscle memory. They were in the gym and they were training for that. There's no luck there. This is something that I just don't like it at all. Is when a big superstar like that or someone loses, they always go to an excuse. Just call it what it is. You lost. Give the guy credit, and you know what? Be quiet and let's see the rematch. But Ruiz, man, I love him.
It's funny that you mentioned that because last week I effectively said either they're all lucky or none of them are. Right, like if you're saying it's a lucky punch, then any landed punch is lucky because we're all trying. That's what's true.
You throwing that punch is you intended to throw that punch.
Absolutely,
that's it.
Exactly.
And you intended to land it in most cases, like in the case of this left hook. So
well, Chris, hopefully, you heal up real good from that eye. It looks good, man. Your eye looks good. It doesn't look.
It heals up good.
Looks like it's healing well, and we can't wait. We're very excited to see you back in the ring and see what the future has for you. You've never ducked anybody. You've always been willing to get in there and fight with everybody. Like I said, the only real loss in my book for you is the Earl Spence loss.
Errol Spence.
But you know what? To me, that's a feather in your cap.
Yeah,
because who's beat Earl? Nobody.
And you know what? I went out on my feet. I do take pride in the fact that I went out on my feet. The referee stopped it. He didn't knock me out. I do take pride in that. I don't like it because people go, "Oh, you're a tough man." That means I took one too many. But I do take pride, and that has given me a lot of confidence. Because if you look after that, he's been knocking everyone out.
Exactly.
True.
He's been knocking them out. I've felt his power. I know what I'm capable of. Losing to Spence, I'd rather lose to Spence than anyone else. So, you know what?
Exactly.
It's a learning curve.
So hopefully December, maybe if not the beginning of early next year, we'll see you in a big top rank fight.
Yes,
and you'll have our support 100%. And we just like to thank you. Go ahead and give your spiel about before you go, because you're real good about that.
Well, I will first start by letting you throw any shout-outs out there, anywhere that we should follow you. Where can we find the documentary, for instance? Where should we look for all that stuff?
You know what? They can follow me on my Instagram, Chris van Heerden 001, Twitter, The Heat 001. My fan page on Facebook is Chris van Heerden. Everything will be posted on there. They can find the video on there. There's a link on my Instagram. In my bio, there's a link to watch the video. I would encourage people to please go and watch this video because we're trying to get it out on a short form festival if we can get enough views. So please go do that. And then, you know what, I'm a man of faith, so I want to thank God and in the name of Jesus for the blessings. Thank you to you guys for this opportunity. It means so much to me. I'm humbled, and just much love to everyone. And you know what, I'm proudly South African. I'm fighting for the right reasons. Please get behind me, support me, and
Thank you very much, Stax.
You can follow me on Supreme Boxing on all social media sites, on Supreme Boxing Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on the SupremeBoxingInc.com. I will be having an exclusive interview with Chris that's going to be going up on the website. So if you're a reader, you can read what I have to say about Chris and the little interview one-on-one that we have going on. So that'll be up probably sometime this week. You can find it there. Also, I encourage anybody in Vegas to stop by the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame Museum inside of the Maryland Parkway Mall. We have a great museum, a lot of history in there. Go by. It's good for the family. You can jump into the ring. You can hit a speed bag. So make sure to check out the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame Museum. And, of course, follow us on Beat the Count. So,
of course, and this episode is brought to you by Combat Sports Collective, logo of champions. What don't they have? Photography, videography, marketing. Follow Combat Sports Collective on Instagram, and if you can follow me at Beat the Count on Facebook and at Beat the Count on Instagram. I almost forgot my own Facebook posts. I think I got them though, right? I got them right? Cool. And that's it for this episode. Peace.